Okay, we are live, as it says on the screen. Welcome to Flak, episode 4. We're going to be talking about Skinwalker Ranch and everything regarding it, as well as UFOs and the related fields. I would like to introduce you to a very fine fellow. His name is Billy Crook. He lives in the area and grew up in the region, and he's going to tell us about everything he knows and um, anything that he wants to share with us. So, welcome, Billy.
Hey, thank you.
Do you prefer Bill?
Billy's fine. Yeah, Billy's kind of what I go by now.
Ah, okay. Yeah, I have a nephew. We have a nephew named William who is
Oh yeah, and I
gone
go
through.
by that too.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
the okay. So why don't you tell us a little bit about your background and your um, being a sergeant in the police force
Sure.
and all of that.
So I live in Utah, and I spent the last from '97 to 2017. I was a police officer for a local police department here. I worked a lot of undercover cases and that kind of stuff, but I worked a lot of nights on patrol. Um my what I loved the most was working at night, and so the better part of 20 years, that's what I did. So I always kept my eyes to the sky. I always wanted to see a UFO. I'd always like to see something just to prove, that it's out there, that it's not just something in somebody's imagination.
Right.
And so I'm the kind of guy that if I see it, I believe it a lot more. I, so I always wanted to see something, but
Never did.
never did. Not on patrol. No.
But then, when you were a youngster,
Yeah. So when I was in high school, I lived, I would say, within 20 miles of the ranch, and it was one of those things where just everybody knew about the ranch, everybody knew about the area, and it was just common knowledge out there. They call that area the Uintah Basin, and I'm telling you, anybody in the Uintah Basin, they believe 100% that there's paranormal activity, that there's UFOs, that I mean, it's 100% real. It's a whole community. It's not just you're talking farmers. You're talking people in that are involved in the church. You're talking people of all levels of people.
right?
It's just 100% real.
Oh, yeah. I think the TV series has borne that out.
Yeah.
Uh, and not just Skinwalker Ranch, but also the Blind Frog Ranch.
Oh yeah. Right. And I haven't watched that one yet, but
I just did.
yeah, I need to.
It's mainly about their pursuit of gold, which I don't know how it feels like inappropriate to me. I don't know, looking for the gold on that ranch because
Well,
you know
so
they
are they saying that aliens are looking for gold?
no, the people who own it are
Oh.
mainly
Oh,
in
okay.
gold, but
No,
they're receiving a lot of the same interference that they
Okay.
do on Skinwalker Ranch.
well,
Things like
the owner of the Blind Frog Ranch, talks about Skinwalker Ranch all the time on the show. Did you see the last episode?
yes,
Well, you know that the gold's gone.
oh yeah,
Somebody, somebody tunneled in when they didn't know what was happening. Somebody tunneled in from the opposite side of the hill. And it's obvious from the tunneling, somebody spent millions doing that.
yeah,
It was a
well,
professional tunnel that was dug, and it's obvious they didn't just do it for kicks. They were after the gold too, whoever it was.
yeah. Unfortunately, greed does that. But anyway, they that's very sad. But maybe next time it'll be more about the phenomena and less about the pursuit. Now, I don't know. Bill and I were talking about Ben. Did I get his name right? Hansen? It's a Scandinavian last name. Ben Larson or Ben Hansen. I believe it's Ben Hansen, actually. Who has the two shows, UFO Witness and Alien Invasion. And he's been talking about a lot of things that cross over into this area. And on the episode I just saw last night, this has nothing to do with Skinwalker Ranch, but if I don't say it now, I'm getting old and I'll forget. But they had an episode where they took out the dress that Betty Hill had worn during the abduction of Betty and her husband. And they actually looked at it forensically, because Ben was an FBI agent. He knows how to do those things. And they found amniotic fluid on the inside of the dress with blood.
Wow.
And it was being her contribution. It came from her body. And they did DNA on it, and she never wore that dress after that night.
Right.
So, yet more proof that everything we've been told is baloney, and this is all happening.
Remember the mask? Remember the mask I used to have?
Yes. Yep.
It was from the movie.
From that movie, yeah, that they made.
Yeah.
But getting back to Skinwalker Ranch, I know you've been saying that they're doing filming out there. There's a lot of activity out there. So clearly, I mean, this series has really thrown open the door on a lot of what we don't know about everything.
Right.
And I was wondering, are you hearing any rumors? Have you heard anything that's going on down there that you'd be comfortable filling us?
Well, so my history with the show is, they came out with season 1, last year, and I was so interested to watch it, and it got to about episode 6, and then it just went off the air. And so I thought that was really strange, because that's all I saw. And I was kind of bummed out, because I thought they were making some progress, and they were actually making some compelling, legitimate, earthly, normal arguments, and they're seeing, some crazy things. And then season 2 came out, and I watched that over the summer here. And, they got really into depth on a whole bunch of different aspects. And, man, it was just pretty amazing how realistic it is.
But when you think about the issues they're dealing with, I mean, there has been every type of paranormal activity on the ranch.
Right.
They haven't talked about it, but they've had poltergeist type activity,
Right.
things by themselves.
Sure.
They've had apparitions. They've had cryptids of every possible kind.
Right.
They've heard disembodied voices. They've had all kinds of things happen, and it runs the gamut across all paranormal activity.
Right.
I know you've never seen a UFO.
Right.
But certainly you've heard stories and other people.
Yeah, I mean, and especially in that area, like, I've always been a fan of UFOs. I love the show Ancient Aliens, and I really, a lot of the things that they talk about on Ancient Aliens just make perfect sense to me. When they start talking about the things that have been built 35,000 years ago, or however 3,500 years ago, some of the things that, the cryptic things that are in, say, different parts of the world, like the Mayans had certain things, and they drew certain wall art, and then you go over to Egypt about the same time, and they're having very, very similar things, and just all over the different parts of the world. Uh, the carvings and the shapes and the things that they come up with are just it's almost too obvious that there's at least been a point where aliens were here on the earth. It just makes sense.
Well, it also, when you look at some of the um, iconography that were carved into, like the Kecksburg incident UFO, and certainly Roswell, they
Right.
have this Egyptian like iconography. And
Yeah,
when you
yeah,
link all that up, and the fact that there are pyramids in Mexico, there are
yeah.
pyramids, it all has to be linked up.
There's bigger pyramids in Mexico than there are in Egypt, which just blows your mind because you think of Egypt when you think of the pyramids.
Right.
But they've got things that are massive down, and a lot haven't even been discovered yet.
Yep.
They're still finding new places down in Mexico all the time.
Well, I'm sure they might have been discovered. They just don't tell us about it.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
They're out there hunting through the bushes and coming up on stuff all the time.
Yeah. There are some excellent researchers now in this field, and
Right.
it used to be just a handful of potboiler book writers that
Sure.
people like John Keel, and who was great, but he's still in that category,
Right.
and Charles Fort, and now we have scientists who are actually, we've got Travis Taylor out
Yeah,
there.
I'm a big fan of Travis Taylor, so I like
He's
I like how he comes across.
and he's
No,
an amazing um, scientist. I mean, he has the credentials.
Oh
Like
yeah, he's got a degree. He's got every degree that you can imagine to be helpful in this field.
now something that hasn't been brought up on the Skinwalker show, but was brought up on the Blind Frog show, is on Blind Frog they found a deposit of iridium.
Yep.
Now, iridium causes a lot of the electrical effects they were seeing on Skinwalker Ranch.
Right.
So since they're so close together, there's a real good chance there's a deposit of iridium on Skinwalker Ranch also.
Or
Because
all it could be all around that whole area.
right now,
Well,
that's worth more than gold, iridium.
Yeah.
So they could end up rich after all, even though the gold's gone.
well, the I suspect the electrical activity may be aided by the chemical deposits, but there has to be something else beyond it. It's not
Sure.
just going.
Right, but
And
you remember on a lot of the meters that Travis Taylor had, and how the iPhone, the security guy, how his iPhone always went crazy.
yeah,
That could all be caused by an iridium deposit. So,
but there's something behind hacking into Caleb's phone. So, you
well,
know,
it's possible.
yeah. I mean, it took 3 tries to crack his security,
Yeah,
and
it went right in there and it showed it straight
yep.
up.
So it's not just whatever chemical deposits
No,
they.
I think it could be a combination.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, whatever it was that came in and created our situation. Um, we've been told this fairy tale about how the blind clockwork thing, and all of this nonsense, and it's always been obvious to me that there's something, a pattern
Yeah.
behind um, our existence that somehow interlies. And when you're talking about, obviously it could access any kind of stores or anything that are in the ranch, but it's something else is along with it.
Yeah.
And I was telling Bill, that the area where Travis Walton was abducted is only 2 hours from Skinwalker Ranch. And when you consider how big the country is, there has to be a factor there that's involved. But
Now, which one is Travis Walton? Is that the Fire in the Sky one?
yeah,
Okay.
I thought he was abducted down in Arizona.
yeah, it's Snowflake, Arizona.
Okay, so you're talking maybe 8 to 10 hours
Yeah,
from
8
that.
to 10
So, I
drive.
mean, basic same part of the world, of course, but yeah.
I think
Yeah,
Melody was talking about flight time.
flight time.
Yeah,
Yeah,
of course, yeah.
but I always think in terms of airline miles. But
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, a 2 hour flight, and of course, those guys up in the saucers, they
Well, a
they.
lot of that is close together. You figure Area 51.
Mhm.
Isn't there a base similar to Area 51 in Utah?
There's
There
this.
is. And they kind of nicknamed it recently Area 52, but it's I would say it's about maybe 200 miles, 200 or so miles from Skinwalker. It's west of Salt Lake or west of the Great Salt Lake. But it's a huge area, and it is that place is a well-known military installation.
Yeah, it's they were discussing that yesterday. Well, not yesterday. It was we were binge watching all of the alien shows, but
Yeah. I get in
Now,
trouble when I do that. I have to do that in private.
yeah, my husband was pointing out these shows, so we went over to watch them all, and
Yeah.
a Ben Hansen, I think, was discussing the proving ground there, and apparently his grandfather had some role in it. So he he's one of the best researchers now. He and of course Dr. Taylor and poor Eric Bard out there.
Yeah, interestingly enough, like you brought up Travis Walton, I didn't think you were going to talk about him, but that's the first show that I ever watched that I thought, oh my gosh, this there's a lot of truth in this.
Oh
And
yeah, the
there's some people that detract from his story, but um, I'll tell you what, that's what caught my eye, and it was just a pretty amazing story.
you
So
know there's a
well,
just I'm sorry.
well, I was going to comment that my sister and I saw UFOs when we were teenagers. We used to live out in Hesperia. I don't know if you know where Hesperia is. It's like halfway between here and Vegas, somewhere maybe a
okay,
third of the way. And we used to lay out in the backyard with binoculars and look at the stars. So we're laying out there, we see these two triangular shaped things go overhead. There was no sound, no lights. The only way you could tell they were there is it blacked out the stars as they went by. And we never found out what it was.
that's amazing. I mean, and it sounds like the triangular ships, if you want to call that, are more and more common. Like that's what people are starting to see more and more instead of just the flying saucers, instead of just like cigar shaped craft. It seems like, from what I've been hearing, a lot more of the triangular shaped ships are showing up, and huge ones like large ships. Like,
Oh, these
yeah,
these were big. We kind of just thought it was probably something from the Air Force Base because there's an Air Force Base in Victorville, or used to be an Air Force Base in Victorville.
so, are you guys? I mean, I know the answer to this question. Are you guys familiar with Art Bell?
Oh
Oh yeah,
And so he was out in that area, right? In Pahrump. It's not too
yeah,
far from there, right?
right.
And I used to, for 20 years, I listened to Art Bell or however long. That guy always had some cool things to say, and
The great broadcast.
yeah, he was the best.
and he would, in fact, he introduced, I think, that art and the X-Files really
Yeah.
brought all of this out of the closet.
Yeah.
There've been so many people trying to shove it back in, all of these debunkers and such, but
You can only debunk it so long. There's big things coming for sure.
I kind of feel sorry for all the debunkers now, because
Yeah.
I mean, what are you gonna do? Oh well.
And it's also exciting that the government is, at least they're talking about or leaning towards opening up some of the files, some of the things that they had. I don't think they've been anywhere near honest, even though over the last few months they've talked about being more honest. But maybe they're preparing us for something. Maybe they're getting ready.
Now, Bill, what do you think of MUFON? Are you familiar with that?
No, I'm not at all.
There's a TV show called Hangar One,
Okay.
and there's a group called MUFON, which is a mutual UFO network.
Okay.
And they kind of took over after they shut down Project Blue Book and everything.
Okay.
And they investigate UFO sightings. So you might take a look at that. You'd probably enjoy it.
Yeah, I just pulled it up on my phone here, so I'll set a bookmark there.
There's also QFOs. Is that what it's called, Mark?
Yeah, but the MUFON is a much bigger outfit.
I know, but there is a little budding.
Oh, yeah, there's a lot of different groups that, since the Pentagon came out and said they're real, everybody has wanted to join in. So, yeah.
And all the people out there who were going on all those years.
So I wanted to kind of get into some of the things that I've heard and seen.
Yes,
please. And just kind of let you know my perspective, because like I said, I wanted nothing more than to see a UFO. And working at night, I kept my eyes to the sky a lot. We were busy a lot, but any chance I got that we're outside, I was always scanning the stars and stuff.
Right.
So, like I say, unfortunately, I've never seen a UFO, but my first real honest to goodness example is Skinwalker Ranch is near a city called Fort Duchesne. And Fort Duchesne, Utah, it's a small area. And as a kid, for some reason, I always believed that there was a Air Force base or some sort of military installation out there. Now that I've grown up, I don't know of anything out there that's military. And so my only thought is it's probably when the government owned Skinwalker Ranch and they were running tests. That must have been kind of what I was hearing about. But anyway, it must have been about 20 years ago. Being a police officer, everybody liked to go shooting with me. And I'm not even a gun guy, but everybody thought, you're a cop, so you go shooting, right? So my brother-in-law had invented these new targets, and he lives out in a city called Duchesne, which is a bigger city, but it's down the road from Fort Duchesne.
Right.
And so he invited me to go up there and test out his new targets, and he was going to mass produce them. They're pretty cool, pretty ingenious little contraptions. And so, we got to his house and we got all loaded up and we started headed essentially towards Fort Duchesne to find a canyon where we could go shoot. And as we got near the Skinwalker Ranch area, he stopped and he says, "We can't go down that canyon over there." And now you got to understand, he's pretty high up in the church, the dominant religion here in Utah. He's got a lot of credibility, and he's not the kind of guy to make up a story or try to pull a fast one. He's a very religious man, and he believes, and when he talks, it's a truth. So as we got closer to where we were going to go shooting, I was just kind of along for the ride. And he stopped at one point and he says, "That road right there, we can't go down that road." And I was thinking, well, okay, you know, it's a private land or it's this or that. And a lot of that area is Indian owned land. And so you have to be careful. It's not as though you can't go on Indian land. There's just things that you don't do. You know, there's just things that you don't, uh, you know, you don't go there and start collecting rocks or you know, arrowheads or any other things like that. You just respect the land. And if you respect it, then they respect you. Well, he basically made it clear under no uncertain terms, we're not going down this specific canyon. And so it didn't bother me. But then he started to tell me why. And he started to tell me that there are strange things that happen down there. And it turns out that he was pointing towards the Skinwalker Ranch area. And he didn't call it the Skinwalker Ranch, he called it a canyon or an area. And so we went shooting. It must have been within, say, 5 to 7 miles of the ranch. And you know, I didn't think much of it. It just caught me because I have heard of paranormal activity, UFOs, and everything else in the Fort Duchesne area, but never had I heard it coming from somebody that was so credible. You know, it's not just some kid or it's not just you know, some guy that lives in the area. This is like a real deal. So we shot and we went and you know, we did our target practicing. And on the way back, he told me, you know, it's commonly known that there are UFOs that come from that area. It's and people that live in Duchesne, live in Fort Duchesne. It's just an accepted thing. It's 100% thing that the people that live there, they believe in and they've seen UFOs, like without a doubt, which is kind of exciting if you think about it, because you know, you can think of different places in the United States and people will say there's UFOs or say there's you know, more here than there. But to have a whole community just honestly believe that this is going down and it's a real deal, so it struck me. It really did struck me. And that's when I kind of started thinking, like, this is pretty crazy information that he just provided with me.
And it's also widely known. It's
Yeah, and I
it,
didn't know that at the time. You know, I had no clue at the time that that's how it would come out. I had no idea. You know, eventually there would be a TV show or a documentary or anything like that down there. But
well, you know, if anything, certainly in this culture, verifies something. It's when very rich people spend money, and when you have Bigelow and now I've forgotten his name.
I'm probably talking about Brandon.
Yes,
Brandon.
yes.
See, I have a whole nother story about. I don't mean to cut you off, but when I'm on a roll, I
We
just
want to
want
hear
to. So Brandon Fugel, he's like I said, he's into real estate and stuff here in Utah County. That's where I live, and he's well respected too. Like, he's not a type of guy to just go and hey, let's do this TV show thing, and you know, let's hire these actors and exploit, you know, some of these old stories. He's well known, and during the show, you know, there's a couple episodes where he meets with high ranking officials in the Utah government. You know, I can't remember if it was the governor of Utah. I'm pretty sure it was. That they actually sat down on the show and they went over a whole bunch of things that um, if Brandon was just some billionaire that wanted to just go find a way to spend some money and make an interesting reality show, you know, that's one thing. But the guy, he's not like that. Like, all the local police officers work for him and his family on some security gigs, because they own property and they own some different things. But you know, they're a respected family in the area. They're, again, it's not just a group of like people that don't know what they're talking about. It's not a family that like is involved in any weird stuff, or you know, just this is very real stuff. And when I heard that Brandon Fugel was involved, I thought this is it's just another step up in the right direction. It's not just some phony baloney guy that, you know, that says he was abducted or, you know, just anything. He's the real deal. He's the real deal.
Well, I think I don't mean to denigrate him at all. I was being flippant more than anything, but he and Bigelow have both been very upfront about their Bigelow less than Dougal, but um, they clearly both have at least good intentions,
I totally believe that. I totally believe that.
and certainly Bob Bigelow, with all of the loss in his life, um, it's he. I guess his grandson and son committed suicide, and
I don't know anything about him, so
but
I kind of wonder why he stopped his investigation of the land. Why they just dropped it and he sold it to
because
to Brandon.
his wife, before she passed, walked into her bedroom and saw an apparition.
oh, you're still talking about the Skinwalker Ranch. Is that
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Okay. So you're talking about the family that lived there. See, Brandon bought it. My understanding is Brandon bought the property from the government, and the
right.
government had been there for like 20 years investigating, and then they just kind of mysteriously said, "Okay, we're done," and no results, no real documents came out of there to prove one way or another, which is almost as shady as you get. Like you'd think if they were there for that long, they'd come out and say, "Oh, this is just a bunch of weird electricity things in the ground or whatever."
Well,
Well,
I think the History Channel is actually doing the funding of what's going on out there because I
Uh,
looked up Brandon and Brandon doesn't have the money that Bigelow did.
well,
Brandon's it
I
says
think,
he's worth 5 million.
well, okay. My understanding is he's a local. He's closer to a billionaire than a millionaire.
Huh. That's it's not what they say on the internet, but the internet is
I
not
could
always accurate.
And I could be totally wrong too, but I thought he was the money behind the show.
if the 5 million may be his personal,
And
Personal wealth. Yeah, I think it was personal wealth
it's
then
still a lot of
because
money. So
like when they opened up that hangar on the first episode and there's a jet in there and a helicopter,
yeah,
you don't have a jet and a helicopter with $5 million in wealth.
and see that's like 10 miles from my house. That's right here. So, like I say, Brandon's he's involved in the community. So it's not like he's this shadow, this kind of strange guy. He's involved in a lot of different businesses and ventures, and they're legitimate things. It's not, I'm just trying to paint the picture that he's not just some weird UFO guy that just wants to make up a bunch of stuff and make some money off, exploiting the ranch.
Well,
well,
In,
that's good.
in
I suspect this whole uh, Skinwalker Ranch and Blind Frog Ranch and all of this is being done in conjunction with the government
okay.
Now,
because
so the Skinwalker came first before the Blind Frog
yeah,
At least as far as the episodes, yeah.
yeah,
because the fella that owns Blind Frog looks like he's up there in his 60s. So
well, there's also the Garcia Ranch that's near there. There's a number of them that have similar activity, and it's known the Shermans
Who owned it previously?
who owned it previously were the ones who talked about it the most. So I
I
suspect
think they were getting more paranormal stuff
they
with the
were.
Shermans than they are now.
Yeah.
It's pretty much all paranormal.
But
Yeah.
but then again, the Shermans weren't filming it, so the Shermans can kind of say whatever they want.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but they,
The
they
difference.
have the thing
on
is,
the
they moved there they moved there to do cattle, and to kind of, it was a perfect location. to raise cattle and kind of build up, a small empire, or whatever you want to say. And they got out of there in a hurry. And people don't just do that. People don't just up and run away. An entire family, there's
No,
something there.
150 acres. They must have spent some pretty good money buying that.
Oh yeah,
Even
Raising
even
cattle.
before, yeah, but even before that area got to be publicized, now I'm sure it cost you 300 million to buy that same piece of
yeah,
property.
yeah.
But I'm sure when they bought it, it was a lot less.
Yeah, I think a lot less. Because that area out there is not like a bunch of fertile ground. That's this wonderful. It's kind of a desert area, and then there's a few pockets of areas that have water resources and that kind of stuff.
Right.
Now I looked at a map of Skinwalker and of the Bullfrog Ranch, and that ridge where they have all the stuff going on Skinwalker.
Yeah.
That ridge runs into the Blind Frog Ranch.
Okay.
And the stuff they're having in the Blind Frog Ranch is also up on that same ridge. So whatever's going on is somehow related to that ridge, the one that glows at night and that shows the beams shooting up from it. That's pretty crazy.
Yeah, that's amazing.
But that's the question: is what do you think this is? I mean, the UFOs, all of that. What is it?
Are you asking me?
Yeah, both of you.
I'll be very honest with you. I've got no explanation. Every episode I see on Skinwalker just enlightens me, a lot more. My perspective is more not how to explain it, but just I wanted to bring to light to you, Melody, how real this place is and how real the locals find this place. And it's not just a couple kids that talk. It's not just like rumors in school. You're talking very, very prominent people in the whole area, in the whole community, the Uintah Basin. So,
well, they have.
Now,
go ahead, Mark.
Just since you lived in that area, are the Utes and the Navajos, are they still feuding over that problem?
So I don't know exactly the situation there. I was going to look it up because I figured you might ask me that question. But in Utah, we do have the Utes. They're a predominant. They're in the area, and there are different Indian tribes in Utah, and the land is owned by different Indians. I think I'm just going to guess now, but I think my educated guess says that most of the Uintah Basin is owned by the Ute Indians. Kind of the way I met Melody was I had gone out in the area because I love to go explore, right? So I went out in the area in some canyons not far from the ranch and took some photos of different carvings, different petroglyphs is what they were. And we're talking within 30 to 40 miles. And I took hundreds of photos of every pictograph that I could see. And yeah.
The ones that they're from the Fremont tribe, they think?
That's what they say. So the Fremonts were here. There's an estimation that they were here maybe as far as back as, before Christ or, right in that area when Christ was, in 2000 BC or 2,000 years ago from today.
Yeah. The picture is just amazing. I mean, especially the 3 discs with the energy, what do you call it? just amazing. Now, do you have them up on the web somewhere where people can see?
They're on my Facebook account. I could probably pull some just on my phone and just show you live live if you'd like that.
That would be great. I would be doing that myself, but I'm not real clear how to do that on this platform, and I don't want to spin us off into negative space.
Okay, so let me just show a few that are just basic, and then I'll show a couple that I feel like um, are not so explainable, right? So let's see here, where's my camera? In the area, this would be, where am I?
Hold
Okay.
it. Yeah, there you
So
go.
that would, there are animals here. There are deer here, elk, and this could be like a ram, uh,
Right.
something like that. Pretty simple to see that. This one is pretty interesting. You can
Interesting.
tell me what you think that is.
Well,
Looks like a bear.
it
Yeah.
looks like their clan insignia that they use. But that's Alaska.
So
And
this you got to get my opinion, and I think most people's opinion is that this is a bear. One of the most interesting ones, and we do have some bear in the area, but as far as I know, in that direct area within just a few miles of there's not. But maybe 100 miles away, there is. But it doesn't mean that 2,000 years ago the bear, you didn't have more. But so this is one of my favorite photos, uh,
yeah,
and this is it's called on the great
yeah,
owl. But you can see, I mean,
Looks like an alien to me.
yeah. So I mean, they accept it as an owl, but even over here, like this kind of stuff is just interesting. And then,
it's
um,
spaced out.
but
I
now
use
let's take a peek at one that is very interesting. Because we talk about the Skinwalker Ranch having powers and having different weird phenomenon. We do see a lot of the Indian. Let's see if I can make it come up here. A lot
right.
of these kind of things, and whether you want to call that a portal or
It's
energy,
like one
you know,
to me.
it's open to interpretation.
Mhm.
But that's not exactly what I would draw when. And then, okay, so here's another one. And again, this one is,
Yeah.
you know, these are like wavelengths to me. I know on the show they did talk about things like this, that they could be symbolic of snakes, and snakes protect you from, this or that. But
They're also
it sure
um
does look like wavelengths to me.
yeah.
Bill, can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
If you don't want to answer, it's fine. But are you familiar with Ryan Skinner?
I know the name and I'm trying to figure out who it is. But yeah, I know I've heard the name 100%.
Well, he spent a lot of time on Skinwalker Ranch, and
Okay.
he's kind of a little off the deep end. He's the guy that says that he goes out once a year to visit the Bigfoot,
Oh,
and that
yeah.
they all sit and fish together.
So I've heard the name, and I can't remember the episode or exactly what, but yeah.
He hasn't been on the show. It was on a different
No,
thing.
Uh, well,
Oh, I didn't see him on the show.
okay.
yeah, he
And
was in Basin.
he's the one that says that he thinks that the Bigfoot are the aliens.
Well, I do have a story for that. So I just wanted to show you one or two more pictures. And
Yes.
so this is one I think that you mentioned, Melody. Let's see, I'm trying to get it.
Yeah, that's the one.
See, this is not a pictograph that's sketched in the rock. This is more of a painting.
Whoa.
And so, there may be some more circles and that kind of thing, but if you look at it,
It's very unusual for
because look, if you're thinking if it's maybe it's just the moon Well, the moon doesn't crescent from the top, right? And
Yeah.
the next one, it kind of goes from the side, but it's definitely not representative of the moon, right? So I don't know what they would say, what the common knowledge is of that uh, photo, but
Well, my background is in anthropology,
oh,
but
really?
yeah, it's I sadly it was in cultural anthropology.
Yeah,
So, the physical aspects are sort of a ways back
I
there.
got
But
you. Well, I have one more photo I wanted to show
yeah,
you. I just took these recently, but they've been around, obviously, hundreds and hundreds of years. These are not unknown. But okay, so this one, this is a panel,
yeah.
and they call it the Great Hunt.
Hmm.
So what's interesting here, let me zoom in a little bit. Let me see here. Now, if you see the trapezoid type being
Yes.
right
Yeah.
here, where is it? My thing, everything's all backwards on my computer, but
I got. I
okay,
got you.
right there, this trapezoid type being.
Yeah.
Now, if you look at, oh, I got,
Yeah,
got
you want to take that phone number off of your screen.
yeah, I'm
I'll
gonna
blur
have
it in.
so either way, it's just my daughter, and I love her so much. She can, so people can understand who she is. Okay, but what I wanted to point out about this trapezoid thing is if you look at all the animals, they have like long snouts, right?
Yeah.
Which is nothing like anything that we have around here.
No.
But I did read somewhere that basically this is a godlike figure,
Hmm.
and that the Fremonts thought. And
Yep.
then all the animals are basically connected back to that figure.
Yeah.
And so, but if you look like what is, this round thing right here, this, where are we at? Right here. It doesn't look like a person to me. It doesn't look like anything worldly that I'm aware of,
No.
you know, but, so
But
that,
they always talk about the orbs.
there
So
you go.
that
That's
kind
what
of
I'm
looks like
talking
that
about.
might be that.
It very well could be. And then over here on the side, you've got hunters that, obviously bow and arrow and that kind of stuff. Um, but it
And the
just makes you wonder because there's so much detail in these animals. And then all of a sudden you have this guy and obviously this, what they call a godlike figure. Um,
yeah, he would be called the horned man or the god of the hunt.
sure.
I
And
think.
the very last one that I want to show, because there's a ton of photos I took, but this one also looks like, if you want to talk about a portal and wavelengths,
Yeah.
or, like, this is one of those things that's like, it doesn't represent anything that I'm aware of, that the Indians would come across. They were, 2,000 years ago.
It's
But
amazing. It
so
is just
these are just some photos that I took. This is an area about 35 to 40 miles south, directly south of the ranch. And then I have gone to an area that's more about, say, 20 miles west of the ranch to a city named Vernal. And
yes,
Vernal is where I think they're holding,
phenomenon.
yeah, that's it. Yeah, pretty soon. And so it's only about 20 minutes or 15 to 20 minutes away from the gate of the ranch.
Yep. It's
And there's very similar carvings and etchings in the stone and stuff like that up in that area.
Thomas Winterton said that they're going to be doing some kind of mass exodus from the convention over to the gate of Skinwalker.
So and here's something that I read about that, because I thought, if I could get a tour of the gate of the property, legally,
Mhm. Yeah.
I, I would like to do that. But when I read on that tour that they have, Thomas Winterton is taking groups only to the front gate, only to where the public's allowed to go. And it says, oh, well, you can take a picture at the front gate. And to me, that I could do that on my own, you know.
Exactly. You know, I mean, now granted, the road up to the ranch now is private property,
Right, right.
no longer a public road.
Okay, I didn't know that. Yeah.
Yeah, I gather that was something they did the function of getting the production company out there. So it looks like Mark is motioning to.
No, John came in the room. I was letting him know I was still online.
Oh, okay. He
Hey,
has wonderful daughter, an RN. And,
Then I just have two quick stories.
yes,
Because I don't know how long you want to go, and we're into it about 50 minutes.
we've got about 10 minutes left.
Okay, so these are just two quick stories. So after I retired from law enforcement, I opened up a baseball batting cage. So I train kids to play baseball, and baseball is a huge part of my life. Well, you know, about a month ago, no, I've been training a kid that's from the Uintah Basin, and they drive like an hour and a half to get here to train. And the dad is, I'll just say the dad's a professional in the area. He works in a very high professional type job, not a job that you'd think is like, some crackpot or whatever, right?
Right.
It's in the legal business. So after I talked to you the first time, I thought, I'm going to ask these guys what they think, because they only live like 7 miles from the ranch.
Mm-hmm.
And so I figured if somebody's going to tell me the truth and debunk all this stuff, it would be this guy. It just naturally would be this guy. And so, between lessons, I walked over and I was a little shy to ask him because I didn't want to think, I was crazy or something. But I said, hey, what do you know about like the Skinwalker Ranch? And he double took at me. He looked at me twice, like, what do you want to know? And so he does have a relationship with some of the people that are on the show. Like, I think they call him Dragon, who's the security guy.
Yeah.
And then Thomas Winterton also, who lives in the area.
Right.
And we talked about Thomas Winterton's injury. I don't know if you remember.
Yes.
So this guy happened to think that injury was caused by something else. And it's not exactly how it was portrayed in the show, but it is what it is. But he also said that he's seen orbs, he's seen things, he's gone out fishing in the area. There's a lake that's not too far north of this area. And they go fishing out there all the time, and they've seen different things out there too. And it just struck me again, like, it's not like we're talking about people making things up. It's not like we're talking about some drunk guy in a bar telling a story about orbs and aliens. Like, these are real people, right?
Yep.
And then just last week, a kid came in, and he lives in a city called Altamont. And Altamont's right there in that same area. And so I just questioned him a little bit about it too. Like, hey, so what do you know about this or that? And his face went blank. And he's a baseball player, so he's in there all serious. But when I asked him about it, he got blank. And I was like, you got to tell me now, like what? So, but there were several times as a kid that they would be out doing things, but playing night games or whatever. And he specifically talked about this one time that they were messing around in a cemetery, in the city there, and you know how kids do that.
Oh yeah.
And one of his buddies was hiding, kind of in the back of the cemetery, and they were all chasing and going to try to find him. And all of a sudden, two large, and this is his description, I didn't see it, two large creatures like ran past behind his friend, like his friend didn't see it. And these huge creatures just ran past. And he's like, if there's such thing as a skinwalker, Like that was it, you know, because they're maybe 5 to 10 miles away, maybe a little less in some parts of the city there, but he believed it 100%. And again, it's not some kid that's just out telling stories. This is a real life encounter.
Yeah.
I'd love to go out there and spend some time, and I plan to, but right now I've got a son that's a really, really good baseball player, and I don't want to miss a moment. I want to follow him around, but you know, there's going to be one of these days that I really would like to go out there, spend some time, do a little camping, and you know, do a little bit more exploration. But there's no doubt in my mind. And you're talking to a police officer, right? I'm skeptical of almost everybody. And trust me, I've interviewed people on the job that claim that they were abducted by aliens, and but you know, none of them were like people that I would say, okay, this person's legitimately, you know, has, you know, like it's almost if there's the mental problems are on top of the stories. But you know, there was one lady that absolutely believed that she's been abducted multiple times, and a lot of details, you know, a lot of details, but not enough to make me think, okay, this is like one of the major
I guess.
things. But it had, she, you know, she claimed it happens all the time to her, but I
You
kind
know,
of got out of there. That's one of those things that I felt like it was more crazy than real. But you know, who am I to say?
well, Bill, we gotta have you back because you're
I
just
appreciate it.
and
Can I ask one question real quick before we go?
yeah, we get a
There
call.
was a there was a story by Ryan Skinner where he was talking about what was the family that was on the ranch, the Shermans?
Sherman.
Sherman's, yeah.
Yeah. That he said that a blue orb chased three of their dogs and crushed them,
Yeah,
like bounced up and down on the ground and crushed
Yeah,
them.
that
yeah.
Now that's a horrendous story if that's true. Gee.
Well, and he told it, it was pretty believable the way he explained it. And, you know, I don't feel like he has anything to make up. I don't feel like,
well, the
um,
nephew also.
yeah, yeah,
Well,
So
Skinner kind of goes off the deep end a little more than the other people like Travis Taylor. They all seem to try to keep it scientific
right.
rather than just automatically assume all those things. I
Sure.
know Melody's looking at the clock over there, so I'll shut up now.
no, that this has been so much fun. Um, Bill, please come back and be with us again. And
Yeah.
I'm gonna let you go off so you can do your fun things for Sunday.
So, yeah, so I just wanted to let you know, now that, you know, I've got so much interest in everything. One of my goals now is to meet Brandon Fugel and try to have a conversation with him because
Would be
he's in the
great.
public around here. Like you'll see him at the county fair or things like that. Like it's not like he's you know, this mysterious guy. People know him. People hang out with him. He, you know, and he takes pictures with people. He's not a crazy guy. Now, the one thing that I did want to add and talk about was, as far as Skinwalker Ranch, the show goes, I think we all have to realize that it is on cable TV, and you know they have to have certain ratings. So I do watch it with some amount of skepticism.
Oh,
But you know when they bring on a guy like Travis, and I know Travis is an ancient alien guy. Um, the guy's got a lot of degrees, you know, he's got a lot of stuff like that. But
this
yeah, he's pretty straightforward, you know. And then I'm trying to think of the guy's name that's the scientist.
Eric Bard.
Yes, that guy. I'm telling you, I study body language, right? And I study everything. I'm telling you, I think that guy's dead on, and what that guy says, I've got no reason to, to not believe. I think that guy's 100% real. He's a scientist, and he's very, very, very good at what he does.
Well, it's nice to see credible people like that, because like Eric Von Donigan kind of destroyed the credibility of that group.
Yeah. I worry a little bit about Dragon. I'm not sure if he's who he is, but he seems a little bit off. I hope he doesn't see this and get all mad at me, but I'm just saying.
All right, kiddo.
So, yeah.
You have to wrap it up, but
awesome.
Thank you for being with us.
No problem.
It's been so much fun.
Okay, stay in touch.
See you soon. Bye. Okay, Mark. Next week we are going to have a surprise guest. It's such a I don't even know what it is.
It's a surprise guest because she hasn't got one yet.
Exactly. I have a couple up in the air, so we'll see.
I'm just kidding.
Anyway, we'll talk to you soon, bro. Next week will be a surprise to everybody. All right. Take care. Bye, everybody.